The Misfits. The people with opinions and the stories behind them. Argue with them. Disagree with them. If you're brave enough, listen to them. The people who think differently don't just shape conversations. They disrupt them. Because the misfits aren't rare. They're among us.
I'm here today with Kelly, and she is a misfit in her own right. She is living across different identities and refusing to stay in one lane. She's a fitness entrepreneur. She's a franchise advisor. She's a business owner. She's a mother. She's a coach. There is not one box here, people. There is multiple. She is a fucking misfit. Let's go. Kelly, welcome to Misfits Among Us. I'm so excited you're here today. This is awesome. Thank you for joining. This is good.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So
you're welcome.
excited
I love
to be
this.
here.
Good.
Also, just to put this out there, Joey, thank you, because I don't think people get permission to live across a lot of different lives sometimes. And oftentimes so many people are like, so no, tell me exactly what you do. And then it's confusing for people when I'm like, well, there's this and there's this. And they're like, well, which one is it? So it is a breath of fresh air to be in somewhere where it's embraced.
I totally agree. And you know what? This is very much, I think the advent of technology and where we are going with social media and things are getting cheaper and easier. And yes, people love AI, hate AI for all different reasons. But with that being said, our parents and our grandparents, they either went to school or they worked in the mines their whole life. They had one job. They never needed anything else. That doesn't exist anymore. You can't just do one thing. And if you can, maybe congratulations, but I don't know if you're overly happy all the time doing one thing forever in this world. Maybe you are. I don't know. So
I agree.
You've lived these different professional lives, and what does that feel like? Let's just start from the beginning. What does this feel like?
Yes, I think I have to go back to the actual origins of where I think my personality thrived, and that was in theater. So I was a musical theater major in college. I literally took academic credits for tap dancing and voice lessons while my friends were off doing business and communications, which is hilarious considering what my job is now.
Wait, where did you go to school? Where'd you go to school?
University of Dayton, go Flyers, from Ohio.
Okay,
exactly.
Excellent.
My family and I lived that, but that's why I originally moved to Chicago. So when I graduated, I had no job and I had just been doing theater contracts. And just to give a ode to anyone out here that's from theater promotes obviously for you to be a misfit, and you're constantly jumping personalities, jumping roles, doing lots of different things. So the idea of being one thing is terrifying, right? It's
terrifying.
Terrifying. So it was just very boring. I think boredom is my biggest fear. I just can't handle anything. As soon as I lose interest or find complacency, I'm like, on to the next.
Do you feel that this is unique? Do you feel that this is overly unique to kind of you and your contemporaries? Because again, you're going to college. Your parents know that you're going to college. They're probably super excited you're going to college. I know when I grew up, it was, you're going to college. There was nothing else. Truthfully, the joke is, I should have went and learned how to become an electrician or a plumber, and right now I would be a multimillionaire. But going to college might not be right. But
do you know what we call that, Joey? We call that blue collar gold, because we'll get to the franchising aspect of my life, but there are a lot of blue collar industries, and plumbers, roofers, painters, electricians, they're very skilled labor forces, and it's blue collar gold. It's amazing.
Flowing up.
Trade schools are the way to go.
The way to go. College is not always the needed path. Sorry if there's parents out there listening.
Well, the other thing too is that nobody uses it, right? So many people that I talk to, they're like, well, that was my major. But this, my major, I was a double major in theater and English, which my parents so lovingly reminded me were 2 backup degrees. They're like, okay, so you got 2 backups. And I'm like, listen.
Right, now what?
Yeah, but I do think anybody listening to this, please, no matter what your major is, no matter what, maybe even if you're out of college, go take a couple theater classes, because the public speaking that you get, the way that you channel emotions and deal in high pressure situations of being able to tame that down. Theater, I think, just is across all. I wish so many business professionals could have just taken a few, sales, anybody that's in sales, it's all theater. And then when I talk about the fitness personality that I have, that's all theater. They had me on a mic in front of a spotlight with music.
You're a character. You're a character, right? You're playing, right? Yes, you're a character.
So,
I totally agree. I think the idea of improv and looking at, and I used to live in New York, And I used to take all these theater. I mean, look, my dream would be to be in every single movie. My ex-girlfriend, who I'll have on one day, we're very close. She came to my wedding. She's a working actress, or maybe you say actor.
Amazing.
She's working.
Yeah.
She's doing wonderful. But like the whole idea of being able to be a chameleon in a space is something that you need help doing a little bit. It's not easy.
It's a skill set. But where else do you learn how do you be a chameleon? You know what I mean? Like it's
not math class.
Theater.
Yeah,
no,
not math,
not math class, not
biology.
economics, not any of it. Exactly.
None of it.
So I do think that that's where it originated. That's where it started. Okay. That's where I feel like I was given permission at a very young age to be weird, to think outside the box, be original, be unique. Because the other thing you have to realize too is when you get to auditions, because I moved to Chicago straight out of graduating without a job, moved here without a job. Yeah. And I moved in with two men that I had just met at a theater contract. My parents were thrilled, but I was like, it's fine. I'll land on my feet. So I went and did temp jobs at a temp agency, immediately started teaching fitness classes. That was always part of it. But I had an agent and I would show up in these rooms with 20 of me. Blonde, ingenue characters.
100%.
So you had to constantly be like, how am I different? How am I going to be different from this next blonde girl? How am I going to say the line differently? Yep. So like it was an innate ability to constantly find uniqueness. And I think that that's helped in corporate America settings.
But so let me ask you a question. So you're going through doing this, you're leaving college. It's great that you went, you got these degrees that back then somebody would have probably been like, you spent all this money. Why? But it's done wonders for you today. The question really is though, like, did your parents and other family members and maybe friends that had became lawyers or whatever they did, they took the normal route. I know this is what my friends did. Did they pressure you to say, like, pick something, get a fucking job? Like you can't eat Chipotle every day. Like,
yeah.
Right.
It's a great question. And I don't know if it was like the direct pressure that you might be insinuating of like, Kelly, you need to pick a lane. But I think it was the societal pressure of watching other people succeed earlier than me. My success was a slow burn. It is hard. But on the same note of that, the psychological salary that I got, it wasn't an actual income that I was getting, but I had the freedom of showing up when I needed to, doing this. I had the variety where I watched a lot of my other friends already raking in like this financial salary of this, but they were the 9 to 5. And to me, that was like a turtleneck, like just like a choking mentality where I was like, I can't do it. So I would rather live on the fear of not knowing where my next paycheck was coming from because I was still in control. I have control issues. So like there was a societal pressure.
You're a hustler. God. You're basically sitting there. This is great because I also think, anybody who's listening and anybody who has young kids, you're sitting out there and look, I get it, right? For my kids, I sit there and say, I want to set you up with skills. I want you to be able to have enough money, but I also tell my kids, I want you to learn how to play guitar because if you need $1, you can sit on a street corner, strum a little bit and go get a McDonald's sandwich. Not that I want them to do that, but you need the skills.
Totally.
Right. And it's about what makes you happy.
But what you're saying here is that they need the resilience. That is what you have to teach your children.
100%.
It's whatever the skill is. I don't care what the skill is. But what I always try to teach, because I have 2 girls, 10 and 7, and my biggest teachings as their parent, and Robbie, my husband, is wonderful, and he teaches them other life-saving skills. But mine is that, like, you have to fail. I want you to fail, because only when you fail are you growing in a certain direction. I think that when people get into things where they just continuously win, life will hit you at some point, and you're just not going to know what to do. So, like, the person that goes and strums the guitar on the street corner, that's the skill set, but that's also a resilience. And for anyone listening that at all, and first and foremost, Joey, just putting this out into the universe, I don't believe that everyone should be an entrepreneur. I think entrepreneurs are wired differently. I've been very fortunate to be one, and that's now my job, and my career is helping other people find that. But you have to embrace failure and resilience as an entrepreneur, because it's you against you every single day. No one's carrying you along. But yeah, so there's the pros and cons of it. But yes, I think that the ability, the fear of, to me, again, it was the fear of being in corporate America. I would rather fear losing it. Also, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, at some point, don't be afraid to get fired, because that's what made me an entrepreneur. I got fired 7 times. 7. 1 ended in a lawsuit. We can get into that later.
Good for you.
But that's where I basically looked at my husband and I was like, I'm not going to do it again. I just am not going to get the phone call one more time. I'm just going to go do it myself. So I think that you get to a point where you have to have that resilience and just be like, I'm going to bet on myself and roll the dice.
I totally agree. So for me, when I got laid off, it was so weirdly cathartic. And I wish I do wish everybody went through it. And truthfully, I think with what's going on in the business world right now, because so many people are losing their jobs, I think it's going to be a huge benefit because it's going to make you sit there and say, what do I need to do for me? What's right for me? And what's right for me might not be the millions of dollars. It might be like, I got to tell you, this podcast isn't bringing any money, but like, it's fucking fun. And I think having fun in life is such a good feeling versus putting on, for me, a suit and tie every single day and going into a boardroom, which I used to do. And I stayed away. And I will say, and this is, I'm glad that you brought up your kids and how you guys are raising your kids and you really want them to fail. And it makes me remember, it's one of my favorite quotes. And I feel bad that it's from like a Batman movie, but it's, why do we fall? And it's to get up again. Right? It's, you need to hit the ground to realize that you're there to be able to move forward. And I wish it was from something better than a Batman movie, but that's fine.
I'm sure somebody else said it more eloquently, but Michael Caine did a wonderful job with that line.
Wonderful job. So I love that you knew that. So let's talk about this really quick. So I want to start with your origin. Let's start from the beginning. And by origin, I'm sure you had a wonderful childhood and you have very nice hair. You have very good blood. It looks great. It looks much better than mine. I want to talk about you in your first real role, which sounds like fitness is really what you gravitated to, and it became your foundation for everything else that you do. Is that safe to say? Tell me about
I think fitness and theater always go hand in hand, because when you get into theater and you move to a city, and I'm sure you know this too, because with your ex-girlfriend living in New York, most people will either nanny or they do the bar scene and they bartend and do service jobs. Or they get into personal training. And the reason for that is because it's flexible, right? So for me, my job, my life, when I first moved to the city, literally looked like I would teach 6 a.m. classes every day. I would teach 9 a.m. classes every day and maybe a noon every so often. And then I would teach on the weekends, but my evenings had to be free for auditions, rehearsals, and everything else. But you made a ton of money.
Was this at like a Crunch Fitness? Was this at like a fitness studio or...
Yeah.
What was that
so back in like, oh God, I'm dating myself now, but this was like 2010. This was like pre-boutique. Boutiques were just coming out. And I have a whole wealth of background with boutiques, but I worked at fitness formula clubs, which I still love. I'm still on the side of some of their buildings, like with my face and picture and everything else. But they embraced me from day one. Kristen Strom, who's like still one of my mentors, she hired me the day that I moved in, immediately put me on the schedule. And then I went. And so I had this great flexibility. I could pick up classes in sub when I needed to make an extra money. I was always able to call off because it wasn't a whole 8-hour shift that I had to miss. I just needed to find a sub. So it was a great, and then I would audition in theater and do all of those things. Then when I had kids, fitness became the whole thing, because theater is very hard with little ones. A, it's hard to audition when you're pregnant, B, you're all the things. So theater kind of took a backseat once I started developing a family in like 2015, 16. But I had been promoted and I got a management position in FFC. So I was managing 150 plus instructors. I got to make formats and develop templates, and it was a talent acquisition. It was a dream job. I loved it so much. There was also the convenience of coming and going as you please. I've never done a 9-to-5 ever in my life, and I never want to. But I was
wait. So hold on. Pause a second. So this sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. Hard stop. This sounds like a dream job for anyone who says, I want to go and make commercials and I want to maybe be in film and be in TV and whatever it might be. Like, this sounds like a really good thing. So because to me, if you said I stopped there and this is all that I did, to me, I would say you were a success. Right? You made it to a position that you loved. You were doing your fitness. You were probably making good money, right? Yeah. You had your kids. You were married. You you had a house. You had a roof. You were able to do all your stuff.
My apartment. Yeah. My kids would go with me. So literally when I had my girls, they would come with me. There's always childcare at a health club. So they would go to the childcare centers and they would play with all the other little kids. I would teach a class. I would train a client, come back, grab them, go home for lunch. I mean, the flexibility alone, it was amazing. A dream job. Yeah. Yeah. Fitness. Also, if you ask instructors, the instructors that people gravitate to, ask them if they have a theater background. I almost guarantee you that they do. Like, it's such a feeding ground, fitness and theater.
Why didn't you stop there? Because the next step is your entrepreneurship expansion, right? This is where you kind of jumped into it. This is what. So I want to ask you. So here's the questions. Why didn't you stop? What was that pivot look? Why did that pivot exist? Because clearly you would have had to pull away from some of the fitness, but I think we should let people know it's pulling away from some of the fitness, but also you started your own fitness thing. So there was really like multiple parts going on.
And there was a huge shift because my husband got a job offer in Ohio, and we both are from Cincinnati, and kudos to the Queen City. Love it. But Chicago is my home. Chicago is where I found who I was. It is my network. So we had been here for about 6 years. We had my first daughter. I was thriving. My husband will gladly agree to this. I was the moneymaker. I brought in the most of our household, like killing it. And he got a job offer in Cincinnati. And when you have kids in the city, people are always like, so when are you going to move to the suburbs? You know? And so some of us in the relationship, him, believed that was the plausible next step. So he was like, no, we have to take this. So I was like, okay. So I was pulled kicking and screaming from my home, and we moved home to Cincinnati, and it was wonderful to be close to family. And I had really good friends in Cincinnati, and actually had my second daughter there. But that's where I was a round peg in a square hole, because in Cincinnati,
you felt this was they
didn't have
this was a step back in life.
Clubs. Yeah, there was no opportunity, right? The opportunities that were available to me in Chicago with my skill set, and also theater is I didn't have an agent in Cincinnati and everything else. So when I got there, where did I even start? I started at like 5 or 6 different boutiques. That's when I started getting into boutiques. But I don't, again, want to be in one lane. So let's take Orange Theory for an example. I love Orange Theory, but they did fire me. I was teaching at Orange Theory, and then a cycle bar opened up, and I am a huge spinning instructor. Didn't think that those would be competitive with each other because neither of those modalities offer the other one. But I was on social media, and people that followed me religiously, you get a cult following as an instructor. So my Orange Theory people found out that I was teaching at Cycle Bar, and they're like, oh, let's go over and take. So they started dipping, and management was like, this is a conflict of interest. Goodbye. And then Cycle Bar didn't like it that I was over at a personal training gym. Goodbye. And then there was a sports club there that tried to hold a contract over my head with a non-compete. But I have lawyers, and they were like, no, we'll take them to court. And they settled. And I won the court case that I could teach wherever I wanted to. But I do have a lifetime restraining order at the Cincinnati Sports Club. So I'm not allowed to go on their premise.
I honestly, I think it's okay to be not allowed to work in Cincinnati anymore. It might be a win. I'm just throwing it out there. Not that it's a bad place. I'm sure it's good, but it's a win. But
but Cincinnati is, I will tell you really quickly, just to give a nod to Cincinnati. Cincinnati is the birthplace of I'm with Kelly. So this is my point of this is like, while I didn't fit in any of the W-2 positions in Cincinnati, I built this absolutely beautiful, thriving community of friends and cult following. And so they basically were like, we'll go wherever you go. So I looked at Robbie after I got fired for like the 6th time. And I was literally nursing my youngest daughter. It was a Wednesday, and I got the phone call, and I remember him coming into the nursery, and these are his words. He goes, is it happening again? I'm like, it's happening again. Like, it was a normal thing for us. So I finally ended up renting space. I hired somebody to design my logo and came up with my website, got a mind body thing. And I remember Robbie was very supportive, but very nervous, because he was like, we're not going to make money for a while. Like, there are expenses of being a business
100%.
owner before profit. And I'm like, I know, but I just can't do anymore. So I built I'm with Kelly. Cincinnati embraced that amazingly. So
because it was unique
the whole thing
for Cincinnati. Right. And I think so. Let's talk about I'm with Kelly really quick. So I want us to touch on I'm with Kelly, and I want you to kind of go in just so everybody understands what that is. But when I said before that Cincinnati was really this like 2 steps back, what it sounds like it was going there was 2 steps back. Getting fired gave you the fire under your ass to say like, I got to fucking do this myself. I'm in Cincinnati. I'm in an area that doesn't want to support me. I've got to be here. Which I don't want to be. I mean, I want to be here because I'm here with family and blah, blah, but I don't want to be here. I really want to be in the city. So I'm going to start my own thing. And if it can be successful in Cincinnati, and really at that point in time, though, in your mind, were you like, if I can make I'm with Kelly successful in Cincinnati, I don't have to, like, I don't need anything else. Because it keeps on being like,
very much, I think that
you
a lot
get
of
to
us
a place, you get to a place, Kelly, where things are very successful for you, and like you reach that, and then you're like, you know what, I want to be up here. Right. I gotta make the jump.
That I don't think is ever going to change, because again, it's that complacency thing. I will say though that we did move back from Cincinnati to Chicago. So I mean, moves definitely played a role in this, and there's a whole backstory to this that we'll get to as well. But I think that what the thing was that I've been dealing with even now that I'm like 10 years out of this, but we wrap our identity up in our profession. And that is why I think when people get let go from corporate America, they go through this crazy identity crisis, because now it's like, what value do I have? I know I deal with it every day with my franchising candidates all the time. And so I think that my biggest rebellion against that is that I'm allowed to jump and do lots of things and be successful in lots of things because my identity is always going to be linked to what I'm capable of doing and not what the profession allowed me capability for. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But
no, I just fell in love with you, but go on. Literally just fell in love with you in this moment. Carry on.
But that's why I think it's very important when I talk to people that do get let go from positions and I'm trying to help them figure out if business ownership is a route. It's this constant reminder that like these failures are not the thing that are defining you. Like this is a hiccup in your story. Like what are you going to do outside of corporate? So when we're in Cincinnati, I built this following. I have this big thing. Everything is thriving. I was a Lululemon ambassador. I could not have more love for that company of how they embrace entrepreneurs and push the limits and the boundaries. But I will say that everything was thriving, had my own brick and mortar. And then my husband gets another call that says, hey, it's either Boston or Chicago. Where do you want to be rerouted to? And of course, it was a no-brainer.
Him with his calls.
I know. But I will tell you, if he never would have gotten the call that moved us in the first place, I don't know if my brand would have I would have never needed my brand in Cincinnati.
100%.
I would have been the brand of somebody else. So that was a gift. And then if he wouldn't have moved us back to Chicago, that could have been tragic too, because I belong here. So we moved back.
Tell me about I'm with Kelly really quick. Let's just talk about it really quick. What is I'm with Kelly? Because I love this.
Okay. So I'm with Kelly came out of, everybody would always ask like, well, who do you train with? Who's your favorite fitness instructor? Who do you go with? And I always wanted people, thank you. Thank you, Joey. You followed the script because that's what I wanted people to say. Oh, I'm with Kelly. So I built that and I started at a rental studio and people would come to my classes and then they would tell their friends. And then it was a game. For me, entrepreneurship is a game. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to go do this event. And then I'm going to go and do this event. And it was always theater, right? Because I would do events with hundreds of people and I'd be on the stage. And it was where I thrive in the center of attention,
thrive,
right? So
totally.
Fitness fed my theatrical needs when I didn't have a theater job, right? So loved all of it. And then I'm with Kelly was this whole, I mean, there was so much more than fitness too. And it still is. And it still exists now. But it's the community that we built. It's the accountability. We would do programs. We would do social events. We have a book club. It was a place for people to feel that they belong because it is more than a bicep curl. I always tell new instructors that are getting ready to get certified, I'm like, I need you to recognize that anyone can teach a bicep curl or a deadlift. It's you calling out people's names. It's you asking them how they were over the weekend. It's critique. It's getting to know their families. So I'm with Kelly was a big community feel. And then dramatically when Robbie's like, okay, we're going back to Chicago. I'm so excited to go back to Chicago, but I had to shut that down. So I shut down the I'm with Kelly. We did this big goodbye. It was so emotional. It was so bittersweet. Everybody threw this wonderful party. And then we come back to Chicago, November of 2019, right before the shutdown. And the identity crisis there was I tried to go back to FFC, but I was a different person now. I wasn't the 100%. GM anymore. I was my own person. So I was just I was at Flywheel. I was at Shred 415, all of these wonderful opportunities. And then the world shut down with the pandemic, which again, for a different person could have looked like the end, but it was the evolution of, yes, my husband's a tech nerd. So he was like, why don't I just build you like a website and you can have people on Zoom? So now all the people that loved me in Chicago and all of my old loyal friends and community from Cincinnati, we're all getting on a Zoom and we make this thing online. And I teach every day online and I have I don't have to ask permission from anyone. I teach whatever I want for how long I want with whatever music I want. Like it has always been about the freedom for me. And so that's when I'm with Kelly kind of had a phoenix rising, if you will, because it was done. I had shut it. And then it came right back in March of 2020 and thrived.
I mean, so I'm with Kelly right now. I'm going to try to share this. Let's see if it lets me.
Yay.
Oh, it's not gonna let me. God damn it. Okay, forget it. It's not going to let me. I'm going to pull it up.
Go to I'm with Kelly.
I'll pull it up. I'm with Kelly.com because there's two. There's I'm with Kelly.com and there's I'm with Kellyfranchising.com, which is amazing that you got both. But I'm with Kelly.com is a beautiful, clean website. I'll throw some stuff on the screen. And a lot of this now is geared towards, I mean, there's a lot about you, different formats, but it's all on-demand fitness. Mm-hmm. And you built up this on-demand fitness schedule, which means you're monetizing your life without having to be there to monetize your life like everybody else. And this is wonderful. Right? I mean, this was not the original goal, but it worked out this way and it worked out as a huge benefit.
And Joey, thank you for saying that, because if we could do a tagline for this entire episode, it was never the goal, but it worked out really well. It was never the goal for me to even really get into fitness, but it happened. It was never the goal for me to move back to Cincinnati, but it happened. It was never the goal to have a pandemic. But I think if you are out there listening and you at all have interest in working for yourself or getting out of corporate America, you have to understand that nothing is actually a setback. It could be a redirection. It can be a way to pivot. But like, there's people that get knocked down by those things and that's it. Or there's people that are like, okay, how can I utilize this? What am I going to do? How am I going to make? And that's the whole point, and even now, franchising kind of fell into my lap as well while I was doing I'm with Kelly. So I was doing I'm with Kelly back in the pandemic. And the best thing is the collaboration, because restaurants were really struggling during the pandemic. So I would say, okay, you're shut down. You have all this space. It's empty. No one's in there. Let me come and teach a class, and then we'll do takeout. Amazing. And we'll leave and we'll help support. So I started doing pop-ups at restaurants all over the city. And then it became a huge thing. Awesome. And so, yeah, it was, so collaborating with other people has always been, and then I would bring other fitness instructors onto my platform because I know I don't teach everything. So I would have yoga friends come on and I would give that to my people. And then I'd have Pilates people. So it was never about, this is all about me. It was about how are we going to all collectively work together? So, and then people started doing it from Germany. I had people pop in and their lunchtime in Germany is 5 a.m. Central. Crazy.
This really is, if I have to sum up where you are up to this point in time, because I want to now get into your franchising in a second, but it sounds like you are so, and maybe this is why you're really good doing the franchising stuff. And maybe this is a good bridge into it. You're very good at taking a need or seeing a need that isn't representing itself immediately. So you're able to see beyond where you are now. You're able to focus on, wait, what about that? And not everybody has that. And I'm sure that goes back towards, theater and fitness and everything else that you do. But you're able to kind of pinpoint something that's a little farther away that might be a little bit foggy, that maybe people can't see, but you still throw that arrow and kind of, maybe you're not hitting the bullseye, but you're hitting the board and you're basically saying, I want to give this a try. And that's unbelievable. So tell me about the franchise. Tell me about this.
Yes. And I think that trying and failing is better than not trying at all. And I know that everybody says that, right? But like, go for it. I always tell my girls, I'm like, what is the worst case scenario? And I also tell my candidates that in franchising, I'm like, okay, let's say you do this. What is the worst case scenario? Like, I'm always one like planning. And if I'm like, the worst case scenario is a survivable thing, let's go. Yeah. So then in 2021, I got a call from a friend of mine, Nick Sheehan, that worked with, he owned like 17 cycle bars. And I originally had started the conversation with him because I would have loved to get back in talent acquisition or like format development and things. So, because I don't have spinning on my own platform. So it was just, I've been enjoying my platform. It was great. But then like, what else can I do? And he was like, listen, I don't have anything going on right now with Cycle Bar, but I actually have another brand that I'm representing and I need somebody. It was kind of like a sales job. And I said, no, I was like, I don't have any sales training. Experience. And he's like, why don't I send you, let's just do an experiment and I'll send you to a sales training. It's like 3 days in Minnesota and just, let's see what you think. And Joey,
so he was going to fit the bill to send you because he's able to look at you. Right. And I told you this on the phone when we spoke before. I was like, without meeting you, in my mind's eye, because I met you through the franchising thing, you literally were this like haggard old lady with cats at your house and you help people on the side because you're like this weird little matchmaker. But in fact, you're like this glorious beam, this explosion of light. But the other people see this. He saw this and he said, let me pay the bill. Let me send you to another state. I'm going to put you up in a hotel. You'll eat your food, whatever you're going to do. I believe you might be able to benefit me, which will ultimately benefit you because you are this actress and you're a character and you can play these many different parts. Why couldn't you fucking see this? Right. Exactly. But you were like, okay, I'm going to do it. Yeah.
And in my brain, I was just like, what's the worst case scenario? Right. So I was like, okay, I'll go. Yeah. And I'm sitting in the sales training. And yes, there was a learning curve. I'm not trying to diminish anything that salespeople do or business people do. I knew that I was a misfit in this room because I'm surrounded by very successful other people.
Of course.
But to me, all I heard, the main message of this sales training was, can you get people to like and trust you? And I was like, that's it? Like, that's what I need to do?
Easy.
Yes.
Easy.
So with that green light, I was like, all right, let's see what happens. I'll give it a couple months because also I've always jumped around from jobs. I've never needed the longevity. So I was like, all right, let's see. I'll give it 3 months. If it doesn't work in 3 months, adios. Maybe I'll take a skill. So
because failure is okay.
Because failure's okay. Failure's part of the game. I'm expecting it at all times, you know?
Totally.
So Nick took a chance on me, which I will always be eternally grateful for him. But it turned out that the brand that I was representing, it was a lot more travel, which was very interesting for me. So I was constantly flying and meeting with candidates and things. And there was a very steep learning curve of learning unit economics and how to read franchise agreements and all of these kind of things. But it was an amazing 2 years. So, and I was still teaching. So literally, Joey, I would go and I would travel to Minnesota where my brand's headquarters were. And I would get up at 5 a.m. and go into the hotel lobby and teach my classes. I never let go of that because those were my people.
Streaming it online. People would join.
Yeah.
So
there
Nick,
was no
let's
excuse.
go back to Nick. I want to know. Wait, let me ask you a question about Nick. So Nick basically was like, I own this company. I want to start franchising. Why did Nick not sit there and say, why don't I reach out to a seasoned franchise company to franchise my stuff out? Like what versus going to, let's say, you who knows fitness, but didn't know, and I don't mean this to be wrong, but don't really know the business behind how that whole studio is built and kind of what the franchise looks like.
It's a little confusing. So Nick owns what's called an FSO, which is a franchise sales organization. And underneath an FSO, it's called Repum. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful business. I still do business with that company now. They have different brands that they help develop and grow. So his team consists of sales representatives or directors of development was my official title. And so what we do is we become experts on that brand. We meet with candidates and we see if they would be a good fit. We kind of do like a qualification vetting process. And then if they follow the process, we introduce them to the actual founders of the brand. So this brand that I represented was not Nick's brand, but he was helping develop that brand. So there's a franchisor who owns the franchise. And then there's development the companies that help develop the franchise. I was part of the development. So
he was this company. He was part of this company and he was like, you need to basically be in my company because I see the value in you. Got it. Okay.
He knew that with my personality, that's sales. Yes. So I helped with this brand for about, I would say 2 years. And then the travel just got to be too much. And I went to Nick and I was like, listen, I'm so sorry. And he was like, no, I'll move you to a different brand. We can do something else. And I was like, it's always going to be at least 2 trips a month. And I just can't do that with small kids. So, but there is this whole, this is a whole network of things. So in franchising, there's the franchisor that owns the franchise company. There can be sales organizations that help promote and develop the brand. And then there are franchise consultants. And franchise consultants were always these people that we would go to conferences with and we would try to promote our brands to. So I got very good at pitching my brand. Like, this is why you should show my brand to your candidates. And these consultants were like revered. They sat behind this big table and they'd been in the industry for a long time and they would take notes. And then if they liked your brand, they might find a candidate and introduce the brand. They're kind of the matchmaker, if you will. We've talked about that. But I always looked at them as like, man, those people like have it going on. And so I just decided, well, why not try to be on that side of the table? So after 2 years
with
development.
You loved this from visually seeing this and saying like, and everything that you've done up to this point, because this is a big shift, right? You're going from someone who is using your body regularly to be on video and do fitness and running that business. And now you're basically saying, you know what? I don't need to use myself in the same way. I'm going to sit there and really learn the business of business. And this is a hard business. This is a hard business because franchising doesn't, and you and I have spoken about this, franchising to me, as I've said to you before, is when I hear it, it sounds like, to somebody on the outside, it sounds like the dirty car salesman tactics, right? Like we spoke about Chick-fil-A, hopefully won't get angry at us, but it's one of these businesses that is so inexpensive to get into. I know it's like 10 grand, 15 grand, whatever it might be. But
no, it's several million to get into Chick-fil-A, actually. It's very expensive.
It is very expensive. But you don't own it.
Mentality that you don't own it. But it is still expensive because of the build out and everything else. So Chick-fil-A has different. Yes, but you don't own it. Yes, we did talk about that because it's more of like you have a licensing factor instead of like being awarded an actual agreement. So, but
most of it is restaurants and most of it is like landscaping companies in your mind. But you were able to see this a whole different way and saying there are businesses on businesses that people can get into, and I can help people figure out how to navigate this world.
Yes. And every time that I would go to these conferences as a representative of one single brand, I would hear all of the other ones. So I was surrounded by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of brands. And some of them I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know franchising had a hold in this industry and things like that. So it was an eye-opening 2 years when I was on development and I was working through all of that. But yes, it got to a point where, like I mentioned, I just couldn't do the traveling anymore. So I ended up calling Franchoice, which is the network that I'm with now. And Linda, who I love, she's kind of the gatekeeper there. And she was like, well, why do you think, why should Franchoice take you on? You're very new. You don't have nearly the years of experience that a lot of our consultants do. And I was like, I will hustle. And the hard part about consulting is there is no salary. I have no salary. I am a commission only, and I don't charge for my services and things like that. So it really is just, you have to find people and help the right people and connect them in the right way. And I looked at Robbie and he was like, dude, you're coming off of a salaried position. When I was doing development, I was salaried. I had benefits. I had all these, it was a sure thing. And he was like, oh, we're going to like, what kind of runway do you need? What kind of ramp? And I was like, we're going to make this work. It's the same way as when I talk to my franchise candidates, where I'm like, you might not make money the first year. The goal of it is not the first year. Business ownership is the long term. So I was like, I might not make money my first year as a consultant, but this is a long-term life change. So Linda everybody's always taking chances on me. I will tell you, I've been very lucky that people just kind of
very lucky.
I think it's like fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? I'm very good at auditioning.
Oh, it's my dream.
So Linda took she took a huge chance on me. And again, I was like, okay, I tried this for a year. If it doesn't work, great. But I ended up getting into it. And some of the times, as you're a consultant, when you meet with people that have an interest in entrepreneurship, but they don't know where to start, my benefit is that I get to tell them there's the creative side of entrepreneur where you get to make the brand. You are the brand. I lived that. I still live that with I'm with Kelly. I've done that. I know the pros and the cons. But I'm like, if you're more of an executor and you want to go with a brand that's already been tested and true, it already has a system, a CRM, an operations manual, and you just want to execute ABC to reach profitability, maybe franchising is a good route. So every time I meet with a candidate, I'm like, I hear that you want to work for yourself, but in which capacity? Because franchising is not for everybody. And I don't think everybody has the creative side to build a brand also. So it's matching people.
So we're switching gears here from I'm with Kelly, the fitness world, to I'm with Kelly franchising, which is, just so everybody knows, there's imwithkelly.com, fitness, which is fitness. And then there's imwithkellyfranchising.com, which is the franchising matchmaking that you do so well. So tell me about this. What does this look like? I go to imwithkellyfranchising.com and like, what do I do? I'm interested. What do I do?
Sure. So you always would book a call, but what you see on the website is like, what does the process look like? Franchising is literally all just process. So for anybody listening, if you're like, I'm a list person, I like to execute from this to this, it's really great. And my husband is a franchisee, so I've watched him do it as well. So we can get into that. But basically what happens is if you were interested, Joey, what I would do is I'd be like, okay, let's schedule like a call. And my big thing is I just want to know why. Like, why do you want this? Because I can tell pretty quickly if somebody really has the grit and the hustle, or if somebody's like just kind of looking for a change. Because sometimes corporate America is a good thing for people. People that don't like to fail, people that don't really want to think outside the box, somebody that just kind of wants the security. Go to corporate America. It's way easier. Corporate America is way easier. So sometimes I try to talk people out of it. And if they can convince me that they really want this, then I'm like, okay, so this is what that would look like. We'll do a consultation. And everybody quickly too always wants to contact me and say, just send me a list. Do you have a list of businesses? And I'm like, I don't know you, because I don't know if you're going to work well here or here. Or I need to get to know you in order to match make you to opportunities. Right?
Sure.
So you and I would have a consultation. I want to hear about your background, your motivations behind this, who you've worked with in the past, who you don't really get along with in the past, the kind of staff that you want. Do you want to be out and about in the community? Do you want to be home? Do you want a brick and mortar? There's so many things. So we kind of like design an ideal strategy. And then I go into my portfolio of brands that I'm partnered with through Franchoice, and I run territory checks and demographic checks. Would this work well in a city? Would this work well in a suburb? And then I introduce you to a handful of concepts. And again, I'm not selling anymore. What I'm doing is I'm saying, this is why I think this one fits you. This is why I think this one fits you. And this is why I think this one does. You're going to go and meet with all of them, and I'll coach you alongside of you of what to expect. But this is what we need to learn to see if this fits. So many of the times people go and learn and they're like, yeah, I don't think franchising is right for me. And I'm like, awesome. Then that's good, because reaching a decision is the goal. Yes or no.
And all this is free to work with you, because obviously where you get paid is really when they end up going with the franchise. I'm assuming. And and if I understand this correct, because it sounds like you're like this ultimate matchmaker where if I went to, let's look at dating apps, right? Dating apps are, they connect you with another individual, and the other one individual sells themselves, you sell yourself. If you match up, you go on a date and you go get coffee, or who the hell knows what happens, and maybe something happens or maybe something doesn't. But what you're saying is you're a little bit different, right? You're saying, I'm going to be the dating matchmaker for franchises, but along that, I'm also going to be coaching you on how this world works, what to look for. And you're really the element that doesn't exist in dating applications, which is, I'm your buddy and I'm going to go through this with you. And however long it takes, I'm here to give you that support.
And people, just so you know, people can find franchises on their own. We call that organic candidates. You can get onto ChatGPT. AI is a great help, and they can, again, regurgitate a list of things, but then you would go onto the website and you would submit your information, and then maybe you hear back from that franchise in like 2 or 3 weeks. When you work with a consultant, the reason why these franchise companies have agreed to compensate consultants with a finder's fee, or whatever you want to call it, is because we kind of act as their internal recruitment department. By the time I would introduce you, an executive headhunter is a great analogy, because by the time I would introduce you to this company, there's a reason you're financially qualified. So they prioritize you and they would jump you in the line ahead of everybody else. So, and it's great. And again, I always tell my candidates, I'm like, you're allowed to say no, but I want to hear the reasons why. Because sometimes it's boilerplate language. Sometimes sometimes it legitimately is a red flag. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't maybe do that. So sometimes I steer people away and everything else. But you bring up a good point, because people often ask me and they're like, so what is your success rate of candidates that you've put into franchise companies? And I'm like, I don't really know how to do that, because that would be like asking a matchmaker how many of your couples that you've placed are still together. It's not the matchmaker's job for your long-term relationship to be successful, but it's their job to find people that are complementary to you and to make sure you're asking the right questions before you go into a commitment. But that's kind of how I always look at that. I'm like, I've had candidates that are really successful, and unfortunately I've had candidates that maybe don't find the end goal that they were looking for. But all my job is to make sure that I'm coaching you and you're going in eyes wide open. That makes sense.
So it totally does. Let me ask this, just so people understand, like, tell me some like franchising category. Like, I think of restaurants, and I think of like landscape companies, and like, I'll clean up your dog's poo franchise company, or whatever that might be.
That is one.
Right?
That is.
Oh, is it? Oh, it's good.
It's great.
I was going to patent pen that right here. Okay, so give me some categories of things that are interesting that people might not think about. Like, this is a possibility.
So a huge one is senior care, where you can help find companion care so that people can age at home. That's a home-based franchise where you don't have to have a brick and mortar, right? Senior care is what we call recession-resistant industry. It's never going anywhere. There's want and there's need. So like, I get a lot of people that want to get into personal care and beauty, like your lashes, your hair extensions, massage, all those kind of things. Also, the longevity industry is booming right now with red light saunas, GLP-1s, all those things. Those are what I would consider really amazing want industries. You want to get that done. But I think sometimes people look back to the pandemic and they understand, what did I cut from my budget first? You're never going to cut 100%. Senior care. If your seniors need assistance, they're going to need it. Kids, there's child enrichment. If your child needs a tutor, you're probably going to figure out how to get my child a tutor. The other thing is pets. There's an entire pet industry of franchising. The amount of money that people spend on their pets is wild, right? So my husband and I, when he was looking through industries, he ended up finding a disaster restoration. And never in my wildest dreams did I think we were going to have a water, mold, and smoke mitigation franchise.
I used one once. That's unbelievable. I used one once. You need it.
People have. Yeah,
you need it.
Do.
Yeah.
It's a need thing. So Robbie is like this very calm, soft-spoken, like he wanted to be a counselor. He's such a good guy. So what he loved about this, just to give everybody the idea of, it's not necessarily about the franchise. It's again, who you are. He loves being a problem solver and he likes helping people. So when people's apartments or homes flood, it's the worst day of their life. They'll call. Totally. He gets to be on the phone and say, I've got you. I'm going to fix this for you. Everything is fine. You are in good hands. And that feeds his passion, right? He's not passionate about water and mold, but he's passionate about helping people. And then we also love the fact that it's insurance. So we're not nickel and diming people. There's no hard selling or anything like that. So that's a franchise industry that people don't think about. So we always say there's retail side where you get into like food and beverage, brick and mortar. And those are awesome. Like Pilates, fitness, everyone always figured I would be in fitness, right? And we got into restoration. So it's home renovation there are so many women that I've been able to place in home home renovation where they get to design people's homes and they never knew they'd be able to do that. So yeah, it's awesome. It's great.
I mean, it really is awesome. And I also think that, so from my understanding, for people that have worked with you and I've spoken to them, it's you're giving them an opportunity most of the time that they've never considered by talking to them and listening to them. Yes. And I think what makes you so valuable in the business space, I mean, you are very smart and you're running multiple businesses and a household and you have this nice soft-spoken husband, which doesn't in my house. I'm not soft-spoken at all. I'm yelling a lot. But shocking. You are, I know, right? But you are someone who sat there and basically said, look, I'm going to go with you on this journey. I'm going to help you be the best you. And I'm going to introduce you to things that you probably didn't consider. And as you're going through your list, I think what's important for people to know, a lot of the things that you were mentioning first were back to the needs, not the wants. And when you look at business, we always like to get in the wants. I would love to own a small little bookstore. I would love to own a little coffee shop. I would love to sit in the back and play guitar and do all that other nonsense. But that's not a need. And a need really is this giant community of people that are just getting older. Kids are always being born. People are spending a substantial amount of money on pets. Homes, like stuff is always happening. I mean, the list that you made was the list of what people need to be able to move forward. And I think
you bring, yes.
Go ahead.
You bring up a thing where people always say, like, part of my consultation is like, think of a pie. There's money, time, and passion. All three of these are unique and needed. And all of the time, I get people that say exactly what you said. I want to open a coffee shop. I'm really passionate about music and I want to do this and everything else. And I'm like, I think that's amazing. What I want to challenge you with, or what I'm like, you can absolutely go and do that. But what you could also do is think of this franchise as a vehicle that's going to get you the revenue stream that you need so that you have the time to go and live that passion. So like what I want is I want our restoration company to take over the entire Chicagoland area. I want it to be making us absolute generational wealth. And I want it to give us the time eventually, once we've delegated to our managers and set up our systems, that I can go to a coffee shop and volunteer to sing in the back room. That might not be my business, but my business is over here making, because to me, money was always the goal. Like money got to be where I'm like, I want to not worry about this so that I get to go and live my passions. But for people that are like, no, my business has to be my passion, then I switch over and I'm like, okay, I did that too. I did that with I'm with Kelly and I made that and I could scale it this far. And if you're fine and comfortable scaling it this far, that's great. The beauty of franchising is the replication of it. If it works in one area, why not own 10 of them? And now you've got 10 revenue streams. So it's a different mindset because there are different entrepreneurs. There are entrepreneurs that are out here over here, and then there's people over here. So you can absolutely follow your passions, or you can just grind and get the money to go live those when you want to.
So, okay, let's end it at this. And I want to ask you one big question, and give me your honest feedback, because I do think that you are such a misfit in your own right? You were someone who went to school, got degrees that, I mean, truthfully, even today, aren't the degrees that are going to guarantee that you're going to do anything. You went and started working at fitness companies and fitness classes, which made good money, but you were like, look, this isn't good for me. I want to start my own shtick. Right. Then you said, it made sense, but I'm going to now get into franchising, and I'm not going to give up the fitness, which is something that you do all the time as well. It's all on demand. You have a lot of people that joined. People should go to I'm with Kelly and I'm with Kelly franchising, and you should really just see both sides of Kelly, which is phenomenal. And you have the kids and you have the husband, you have all this stuff, which is so good it's so nice to hear, because it's so great when you see people intrinsically successful, right? You're happy on the inside and it's showing what you do. If someone feels that they're more than one thing, no matter what that might be, right? What do you want them to know? And I understand we're talking about failing is okay, but some people are like, God, that failing is I'm never going to be able to get up from the failing. Like, what do you want to leave them with right now?
That's such a great question. And I hope that this is my knee-jerk reaction. I would love to be able to give somebody like, this is the fail proof, like go do this and this. But what I would tell you, for anybody that has this weird itching sensation that either I want more or I want different, my biggest piece of advice is stop trying to quiet that voice. We are 99% of what goes on in our head. And if you have an internal voice that tells you all the time, that is terrifying, don't do that, that's not safe, you have kids, you have mouths to feed, and you keep listening to that voice, you're staying where you are, and that's fine. Totally. If you can start changing this narrative, and I literally have Post-it notes all over my house that say, do scary things, go ahead and fail, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I have them all over the place because I constantly have to remind myself that like risk is just part of growth. If you're not risking something, you're not growing. So all I would tell people to leave this with is obviously find the resources that can help educate you. Obviously reach out to me if you ever have questions and things. But the more you can stop trying to quiet that voice that's keeping you in the same place. Because I do talk to people too that wake up after 30-year corporate roles. And now they're like, maybe I want something different. But their brains have trained them to think the same.
Sure.
Start just breaking it and do it for other people too. Like if there are people in your network too that are like saying things, give them permission to figure it out. Cause I think some people are too like, you can't do that. Why would you leave your job? Your job's so nice. You have a salary of this, you have this. Don't be that person. Be the person that's like, you should look into that. You could do that. Why shouldn't you do that? Tell me why you should. Be that person that just constantly negates the monotonous voice that says, be safe. Because that's a lie. It's a lie.
I love that you have these Kelly-isms all over your house, and I want you to compile them into like a little Kelly book. I think you totally should. And if somebody joins one of your franchises, they should get this little Kelly book for free. I think isms are so important to get through life.
Yeah.
I really do. And
Joey, there is a book, though, that I give to all of my candidates once they do. It's not my book, but it was referred to me from a mentor of mine. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And it is one of my absolute favorite books. For anybody listening, I'll send you a free copy. It is literally, the whole book is whether you're going through a move, whether a spouse has passed away, whether you want to open a business, whether you're just an unexpected pregnancy, any of the things that cause us fear, public speaking. It's like, okay, great. Do it scared. Just do it scared.
Yeah.
Don't not do it. Just do it afraid and then do it again. Because the only thing that helps negate fear is repetition and experience. So look, I am so happy we were able to speak. I think you are like, you know, those posters in offices where like the eagle is flying over the mountains and it says like, believe, right? Whatever it might be, right? You are this person that needs to be in everybody's office and it just needs to say, uncomfortability is okay. Like, yes,
you sell this so well, and it's hard, right? I think living in America and going through a lot, there's a lot of views that we have in terms of what success looks like, and we do like entrepreneurship, but we don't talk about the failing, right? We talk about people that succeed and the ones that succeed very well. There's millions of people that fail, but they do a lot of different things where they ultimately get to something, hopefully, that allows them to have that success. Maybe it's inside, maybe it's, who knows? God, I loved this conversation so much. And I want to talk again. And for those out there that are listening, you know, we're going to post all of Kelly's social. We're going to post all of her websites. We'll post all of her contact information. If you're interested in some fitness, jump into her on-demand classes. If you're interested in franchising, like, reach out to her, please. Because worst comes to worst, you realize you don't want to do it. That's all it is.
That's it. I always say, I'm like, the worst case scenario is a free class in franchising 101. And you're going to say, I don't want that. But that saying no is going to make a more loud, resounding yes somewhere else. So you're one step closer. Yeah.
Totally. You're choosing your path and you're figuring out what road you're supposed to take. This, Kelly, was so wonderful. I cannot thank you enough. You are such a misfit. I love the shit out of you for so many different reasons. I want to go do something now. I want to go start. I don't know what it is. I'm just going to go do it. Who cares? I want to do it.
Joey, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Good.
It was so much fun to be here.
God, you are so great. Thank you so much. Listeners, take advantage of all of Kelly's services. Please, 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 please. Kelly, thank you so much. We will talk again soon.
Thank you.